This is Danny Rocksteady. In this video, I'm going to show you how to change the brakes on your 2019 and up Toyota Rav4 using these EBC brakes, and I'm going to try to show you how to do it in less than 5 minutes. All right, try to keep up.
Your first step is going to be removing the wheel, so make sure you have lifted up high enough to where there's a gap at the bottom so that the wheel can come out, and make sure you're using jack stands and things like that. Once you have the wheel removed, you're going to remove this piston assembly here. You're going to have two sets of bolts at the top and at the bottom. This is a 14 millimeter in the back and an 18 millimeter up front. Make sure you're using a low profile wrench up here so that you can actually fit it. Once you have the bolts off, you can take this assembly off, but it's never a good idea to have weight hanging from the brake line. So I'll usually set up a bungee cord and then I'll hang it off here so that there's no pressure and weight pulling on this. From here, you can start removing the pads, but in order to remove the rotor itself, you're going to have to remove this whole bracket here. There's going to be two 17 millimeters in the back that you'll have to remove, and then this will all come out. So next is removing this rotor. If your rotor is corroded like mine and is stubborn to be removed, you can use an M8 bolt, which is threaded for these holes here, and then all you have to do is tighten it until the rotor pops off of the spindle. All right, at this point you have all of the necessary components removed and you can just start installing the new parts. From here, you're going to go ahead and install any necessary pad hardware and transfer any hardware that you might need. And then here's a quick comparison of the new pads versus the old pads. And then from here, it's just a matter of installing the pads themselves. Before the piston assembly, you will slide back in. You actually have to depress the piston. So what I'll do is I'll take the old pad and I'll take a C-clamp and I'll use it to squeeze the piston in. I'll show you that in the next slide. And so this is what this looks like. You'll just have to keep twisting and tighten the C-clamp so that the piston goes all the way in. And now that the piston is depressed, you should have enough clearance to be able to slide them over the new pads. There you go. And there you have it. The front brakes on this 2019 Rav4 is now upgraded to EBC drilled and slotted rotors and the EBC Greenstuff brake pads. From here, you just reinstall the wheel and then we'll get started on the rear. First step for doing the rears is disengaging your parking brake. So what you're going to do is make sure your ignition is on, whether you press the button twice or use the key to the second position. Hold the brake pedal down and also press this down. The process for upgrading the rear brakes is almost identical to the front. There are a couple extra steps, like removing this electronic parking brake module. Once the connector is removed, you can just go ahead and do the same process of removing the 14 millimeter bolts in the rear and using an 18 in the middle to keep this from spinning out. And then from there, it'll all come out just like the front did. To retract the rear pistons, you're going to need to use a little bit of a high-tech type of device. You're going to need a 9-volt battery and some wires. You could just use something like this that are pre-made with alligator clips, or you can use speaker wire. And then from there, you'll touch the leads to the pins inside the electronic brake module, and then it will activate the piston. If it's going the wrong way, then you just switch the polarity. I don't know if you can hear that, but you can hear the motor going, and then from there you'll just press the piston down. Go ahead and reassemble everything, torque everything down, and make sure you reconnect the plug up here, and then there you go. You've upgraded the brakes on your Rav4.
Once you've got everything reinstalled and torqued down, the next step is to actually go for a drive. You need to take it easy for about the first 100 miles and follow any manufacturer recommended braking process. I was never really a fan of the squeaky factory brakes. This EBC upgrade addressed the mushiness and really added some bite to the brakes. I hope this helps you on your brake job. Don't forget to bookmark the video.